Welcome to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is a National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the largest grassroots advocacy network for people with mental illness and their family members, with over 800 national affiliates and 13 Kansas affiliates, with NAMI Wichita being one of those 13. We provide awareness, support, education, and advocacy for people affected by mental illness. Our purpose here is to provide a community conversation on KSUN Radio that gives insight into what it's like to live with mental illness. Our intention and hope is that our program will change attitudes, assumptions, and stereotypes about people with mental health conditions, and in so doing, we will stop the stigma associated with mental illness. My name is David. I am very pleased and proud to be your host today, and I am a person living with mental illness. I am in recovery for major depressive disorder. Like everyone, I struggle with the ups and downs of emotions and the challenges of being fully human, but I am doing great, and I know I have many gifts to offer my family, my friends, and my community. Now, before I get too far into the program, I need to note that we talk about mental health issues on this program. There may be some issues or words that may be troubling or triggering for our listeners. Please practice good self-care and use your own discretion when listening. Now let me introduce Kara, my co-host and the executive producer for our program. Hello, Kara.
Hello, David.
And and you're also our technical producer today. So
Yes,
hello again for that.
Hello.
And now let me introduce our guest for today. It is my pleasure to introduce Officer Nate. Hello, Officer.
Hello.
So how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I like the weather.
Yes, this is awesome weather today. So let me start off by asking you the question that we ask everyone, and that is, where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was actually born here in Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
When I was younger, I grew up in the Plainview area.
Okay.
And then we moved out to around off of Mays Road, 21st and Mays area, and then I went to school at Mays High School.
Okay, awesome. And what was their mascot?
They are the Eagles.
The Eagles. Okay, Yay Eagles. All right. Well, let me throw another one at you, and that is, what do you have any hobbies?
You know, I stay pretty busy, getting involved with the community, different organizations. But as far as like what I like to do for fun, I like to travel a lot. So,
you do? Okay.
Yeah, so we do a lot of traveling.
Are you a shutterbug? Do you like to take pictures?
You know, yeah, that's more up to my wife. She's kind of the picture taker, and I'm kind
enough.
of living the moment type guy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have kids?
No, I do not.
You do not. Do you have four-legged children, pets?
Yes.
Okay. So what are the four-legged children's names?
We're just one. We got a boxer named Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a good name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. What else can we ask you?
Well, I was going to say,
Yes.
would Officer Nate like to give about where he's from, what he does on a daily basis?
Oh, yes. Very good.
Yeah. So I actually started our homeless outreach team back in. I started developing it in 2011, 2013, and basically what that is we have 4 officers, and we get dispatched throughout the entire city to any homeless-related type calls. You know, someone checking a welfare, or maybe someone setting up a tent or campsite, and we'll go out there. And our main focus is actually to try to keep homeless out of the jail system and get them connected with the resources to help them. What we found is there was a study done by University of North Carolina, Charlotte, that showed if you can get a homeless person into housing, it actually reduced their vagrancy, arrests, and complaints and issues by 84%.
That's excellent.
Right. So from a police perspective, it's not about arrests. It's about trying to get them connected with the resources. Maybe they have substance abuse issues or mental illness. And if we're just putting them in the jail system, they get back out, they go and, we start it all over again. It's just a revolving door. We need to break that cycle. We got to get them connected to ComCare or mental health association, get them on the medications or substance abuse, inpatient treatment. And if we can break that cycle, now we're working on them and not that recidivating back.
Okay, well, let me throw this question at you, and that is, I need to look at my sheet.
I was going to ask real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
When did this homeless outreach team start?
So I started developing it, making the SOP and or some ordinances policy and procedures in 2011. We didn't go live until 2013, and that's when we went live. We've been a full-time unit ever since.
Okay. So, how can our listeners contact you if they know someone who is in need?
So if it's non-emergency,
Uh-huh.
they can call our homeless outreach number, and the homeless call us. They text us. Community members can call them. It's 854-3013.
Okay. So that's 316-854-3113.
3013.
30.
Oh, 3013. Sorry, folks. You know how I am about splitting numbers up, and that's how I had to do it. So, so let me throw this at you. Of the number of homeless that you help, how many do you estimate are living with a mental health condition?
Some of the studies I've seen, and they kind of vary. One of them I saw that 80% of your homeless have mental health issues, substance abuse issues, or both. But I think one of the last numbers we saw, roughly almost half have mental illness.
Okay.
We document, a case management file, and a lot of times I would say it's higher for us when we document it, because you start talking about what is mental illness. There's different types,
Right.
all the way from someone saying they suffer from depression, all the way up to full-blown schizophrenia.
Right.
They're both mental illness. So, and I mean, almost the majority of everyone we have contact have something, whether it's anxiety, depression that they're dealing with.
Well, and that would make sense because of their situation.
True.
And what that situation is doing to them, whether it's a situation that led them into homelessness, whether they were homeless and that compounded other situations, issues of loss of job or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, all of that would definitely affect their mental stability. So you had a question for Officer Nate.
Yes, I do. I would like to ask about the relationship between homelessness and substance abuse. We all know that substance abuse, in many ways, is comorbid. It coincides with mental health issues. So I'd like to ask your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, what we see is a lot of times, I'll tell you what some of the homeless will say. I don't necessarily believe this, but this is their perspective. And there's other videos out there. Seattle is Dying, I think, is one of them, where they interview homeless people. And even in Wichita, multiple times, probably a dozen times, the homeless have said, if you're homeless on the streets, you're using something. You're using drugs, alcohol, you're abusing some type of substance abuse, just because it's almost like a coping mechanism. And especially if those who have substance abuse, they're self-medicating with drugs or alcohol. Now, I don't believe that every homeless person is using drugs or alcohol, but that is the perception of our homeless population. That's them giving feedback to us. And so, it makes me think sometimes that maybe it is a stronger issue than we can even fathom. I think I saw one study, and this is across the nation too, but in the last 4 years, our meth cases, I believe, went up 59%.
Wow.
Here in Wichita?
That is correct. And then also our homeless point in time count showed a similar graph with similar numbers of self-reporting compared to 4 years ago. So it is a concern and an issue of substance abuse, especially among our homeless population.
And what are you doing to get those people help? You already said that you're taking them to either the Mental Health Association or ComCare. Are they enrolled in free substance abuse treatment programs there?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, every community has gaps. When we first started, we had only 4 detox beds for the entire Sedgwick County. And that was a concern because we had someone who wanted to get off the streets and get clean, but they didn't have insurance. Then we would have to get them connected to one organization that had 4 beds. We worked with the state, and the state allocated some resources. Now we have a bigger detox center through SAC, Substance Abuse Center of Kansas, which is also right next door to ComCare. So if there's some dual diagnosis going there, they can get treatment for both at the same time. And so that really helped. Now, those are just detox beds. The biggest issue, if you don't have insurance and you want inpatient treatment, those beds are limited. And sometimes you're looking at 3 to 6 months waiting list.
Oh, my gosh.
And if you have someone who detoxes after 5 days and they go back to the streets, what's the likelihood that they're going to relapse? Almost a guarantee.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is, get those inpatient treatment beds available faster so we can transition them straight from detox into that program and then straight into a housing program and never having to go back to the streets, which is where they will relapse.
So it sounds like we have a lot of work to do.
Sure. Yep.
But I want to double back, and you used a term, dual diagnoses, which I want to unpack for our listeners. When you hear that term, dual diagnosis, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have two different diagnoses of mental health. It is referring to the fact that they have a diagnosis of mental health and a substance abuse issue, because science is showing now more and more that people who have substance abuse issue tend to have some kind of hidden mental health issue.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's comorbid.
Yeah.
And it self-medicating, like Officer Nate
Yeah,
mentioned.
exactly. So,
And we're starting to see that the studies and the research is showing that you have to address both at the same time. You can address the substance abuse issues, but he still has a mental illness. He's going to relapse into using again. If you address his mental health side, but he still has addictions, then that's going to be a problem that's going to continue to occur. So
exactly.
you have to treat both of them at the same time.
Yes. And in fact, all the way to the higher up of SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Association or Administration,
Right.
they're saying the same thing, that you've got to treat both together.
That's correct.
So, well, I want to underscore something here.
What's
Where-
that, David?
Well, I lost my page. There I am. I wanted to note that our own voice is intended to humanize the misunderstood, highly stigmatized topic of mental illness by showing that it's possible and common to live well with a mental health condition. So this is our own voice on Kaysen Community Radio. We were talking with Officer Nate, and we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Our Own Voice is brought to you by NAMI. If you would like to learn more about the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the programs we offer, or get involved, please visit NAMI.org.
Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and Kaysen Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. To learn more about NAMI Wichita and how you can get involved with the mental health community, contact our message line at 316-686-1373 or email us at info@namiwichita.org. Leave a message and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. You can also visit our web and Facebook pages. Our website is www.namiwichita.org and our Facebook is www.facebook.com/NamiWichitaKS. NAMI has lots of activities going on, from our various classes to our various meetings. The first Tuesday of the month is our affiliate education meeting at 7 p.m., where we often have amazing guest speakers share with us happenings in mental health. On the third Tuesday of the month, we have Ask the Doctor Hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., followed by our support groups for those families and persons with a lived experience with mental health. And on the fourth Tuesday, we meet at College Hill United Methodist Church for a Care and Share support group for those persons and family and friends of those living with mental illness. The first and third Tuesday, our meetings are at 1010 North Main, the same location as Breakthrough Club and Episcopal Social Services. Again, if you would like to join us or learn more about NAMI Wichita, please contact our message line at 316-686-1373. We would love to hear from you. Let me again note that we talk about mental health issues on this program. There may be some issues or words that may be troubling or triggering for our listeners. Please practice good self-care and use your own discretion when listening. Now, we were talking with you, Officer Nate, during the break, and we came up with some other questions to throw at you. So I hope you're ready for this.
Let's do it.
Kara, you had a question or two, right?
Right. I wanted to talk about, you often see homeless people holding signs, and what do you do if a homeless person is holding a sign up? Of course, we don't want to give them money and help their addiction. If they have an addiction, I don't know what to do in that situation, and I don't feel good for ignoring them. What would you advise?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, and there's some studies out there that have shown that 93%, or they did a study where they surveyed people that were panhandling or holding signs, and the ones that they admitted, 93% of them admitted that their money goes to drugs, alcohol, or tobacco. And so you're right, we don't want to be enabling their homeless problem, and it could be because they have addictions, and that's why they're homeless. And so by giving them their money for those purposes, you're making their problems even worse. So, but we're here and you want to help someone, what can you do? Also, I want to say we actually got rid of panhandling ordinances. It's actually 2015, the Supreme Court ruled it a First Amendment right, which I guess I probably agree with as well. Now, what we did do is we made it illegal to stop in the middle of a roadway and do a transaction out of your window of your vehicle. And it's technically a misdemeanor for you and for the other person doing the transaction, both of you. So, number one, you can't really do a transaction in the middle while you're driving. If you wanted to help a homeless person, you could pull over to the side in a parking lot, get out and approach him and see what you can do to assist him. The biggest thing, I would do if you're in a parking lot walking around and someone walks up and approaches you and asks for money, is give them our number. Say, hey, I can get the homeless outreach team here. They can help you get the resources you need. All the free food you want, all the free shelter, all the free clothing, free job employment training. We have agencies that help homeless get jobs. If you're a veteran, they're holding a sign. We have tons and dozens of vouchers right now for VASH, meaning they can get free housing right now in Wichita.
Excellent.
So oftentimes when we come across panhandlers, whatever their sign says, it's a ploy to make you feel sorry for them, so you'll give them money for their addictions. And that's what we're seeing, because we have videos where we approach them, whatever's on their sign, we will help them get what's on their sign through resources in the community that they can get to for free. They almost never accept the help because they're not there. They know where to get that stuff. They're there for money because that's how they're going to get their drugs or alcohol or any issues they have with substance abuse. So we encourage people, if you want to give, but give to those agencies that are helping the homeless, and your money is going towards helping them and not enabling them or making the problem worse. For instance, donate money to NAMI instead. And those agencies that require a lot of private dollars, if they're going to the drug dealers and not getting into their pockets, then our providers are hurting. And they need that money to help our homeless population.
Excellent. Now, you gave us that number once before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give that number again. And please note, listeners, that this number is not our information or message line. This is a number for the H.O.T team, the Homeless Outreach Team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go ahead and give us that number again.
It's 316-854-3013.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, you brought NAMI back up, and I was going to ask you earlier, and I didn't. Have you heard about NAMI?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm C.I.T trained. I was in the first class of C.I.T officers, and then I'm also advanced C.I.T, and NAMI's involved with that. And then in 2013, when I started our homeless outreach team, NAMI actually nominated me as Officer of the Year.
Excellent. That is awesome.
Can I ask, what is C.I.T?
crisis intervention team. So we do a week-long training with NAMI and Mental Health Association and other providers, and they help teach police officers how to effectively communicate with somebody who has mental illness or is going through a crisis. 20 years ago when I got out of the department, they taught us treat everyone the same and speak to everyone the same way, and that's how we were trained. Well, now we know that's actually not the case. Everybody responds differently. People have mental illness, other people don't, and so you got to learn how to navigate and talk to people differently that do have mental illness. So
Exactly. I want to pat you on the back for being CIT trained, because my understanding is that is of your own choice. That you're not ordered to do that by the police officer force. That you chose that, and that is a wonderful avenue that we in NAMI really appreciate. So thank you so much for that.
So CIT training isn't required for the WPD?
No, it's not. It's recommended. We do have a requirement. You have to have one type of mental health training. There's a 1-day mental health first aid is what it's called.
Yeah, which is also a good
Sure.
a good class, but it can't compete with 40 hours of training.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you want to get really in depth, and then CIT focuses also on the officer relationship with this person, and how to navigate that. And we do role playing, and there's just really good training.
That's wonderful. Kara, do you have any other questions?
Well, I think he already touched on this. I was going to ask, what if they don't want help? But also I want to ask, how do you see the future of Wichita? Do you see more officers willing to have that CIT training? And do you think that homelessness will not necessarily be eliminated, but do you think that the future looks better with the H.O.T team and with that training?
Well, first question, in regards to whether or not if people want help or not. What we know is there's just people out there that they're kind of still using. They're still in their party phase, and they're not necessarily wanting help. They're content. They're getting all the free meals each day. They get the free clothing, and they're kind of just coasting along. But there's so many other people that want our help and that we're addressing that's okay. And then sometimes that person who originally was refusing help, maybe they stayed outside one night and it got really cold, or maybe they got they became a victim of a crime, or they keep getting their items stolen at night. Then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, this isn't that great. I want help getting off the streets. I'm done. And then they give us a call, and that's when we swoop in and really focus on helping them, because their mindset has to be in the right mindset to want the help. So if they're in the right mindset, we can come in and we can help them get out of their situation. So sometimes it's just waiting around for them to be ready, and that's okay. And we'll be here when they're ready.
That's awesome.
In regards to your other question, it's important for officers to want to get CIT training. I'm actually working with the federal government. They listed us as a best practice, and we're working to try to spread what we're doing to other cities throughout the United States.
That's wonderful.
And working on some training manuals. I've flown up to D.C. a few times for that. And so they really looked at Wichita's model and saying, how do we get this to other cities? And can we do grants or the training, and how's that going to look like? So that is moving forward in that direction.
Excellent. That is wonderful. I want to point out something, and I'm wondering how the H.O.T team will work into this. I know that we have people here in Wichita that are talking about trying to recreate what's called the Bexar County model from Bexar County, Texas, which I believe, I can't remember the city now that's in Bexar County. Anyway.
Is that Austin?
Austin, yes. That they have a lot of resources centrally located to where they can go to. So do they? Do you think that the H.O.T team will eventually work into that if we're able to recreate that here?
Well, there's actually a coalition right now that's for substance abuse and mental health. That's looking at a model. One was out of San Antonio, Haven for Hope.
That's it,
okay.
San Antonio.
So and then I went down and during some training and also viewed that campus, and it is amazing, and it does keep all the resources together and gets so there's no gaps, and there's really good soft handoffs from one agency to another. Right now, it's hard for a homeless person to travel all over Wichita, and they oftentimes don't make their appointments, and then now they're falling back into the cracks of homelessness. So it is a model that works. It's going to take all the providers coming together and agreeing to do that, though.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
true.
Sometimes that's the tough thing.
Yeah, that is tough. So any providers who are listening to a program, work together, please. I beg you. So, well,
We're nearing the end of our program, but I'd like to say thank you, Officer Nate, for joining us today. and
yes,
coming
thank
to
you
talk.
very much.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And another shout out to Brooklyn.
Okay.
All right. Go Brooklyn.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for joining us for Our Own Voice on K-Sun Community Radio. Thank you again to Officer Nate for talking with us about homelessness and mental health issues. And join us for our next Our Own Voice program.